We're here to prove it's possible, not just for us, but for every woman brave enough to go for more. We believe success is sweeter when it's shared, and that your next level comes faster when you're surrounded by women who truly get it. This episode is brought to you by the Ultimate Girls Trip Business Mastermind Retreat, where big goals, belly laughs, and bold action all belong in the same room.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Proof It's Possible. I'm so excited because today we have my friend Bridget Romo.
My friend here.
Well, okay. Her and I met, I don't know, like 4 or 5 years ago in Scottsdale, Arizona, one of my favorite places. And we have been business friends ever since. So, Bridget, why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Hi, guys. Thank you so much for having me. I wish I could hug you in person. It's been too long since I've seen you, but thank you for having me. I do marketing leadership, a very fancy way for saying I come in and I help look at all of the different pieces of your business that are being marketed, and we create strategies and plans and execute them to get a great ROI and make sure your customers know what you do. Short story.
Amazing. So what got you into this business? Like, have you always done marketing, or what led you here to being the expert and doing such a good job of it?
Well, thank you. I started marketing like 10 years ago. I was one of those that loved social media when it first came out. I was always creating content. And at the time, I was heavily involved in the fitness industry, and I was working with a fitness team. And I started setting up photo shoots and helping models build like portfolios. That was my first business. And I had this model one day ask me, she's like, hey, can you run your social media? Because I really like how you present yourself, like all the branding and things that you do for yourself. And I was like, well, I don't do social media. I do like photo shoot stuff. She's like, I'll pay you. And I was like, the entrepreneur in me is like, well, how much? So she was my first client. And I learned so much, like how to write on behalf of a personality, like how to shoot videos, how to keep coming up with content ideas. And then she referred me, and then another person referred me. And it became my Sunday night, weeknight hustle. I was working two corporate jobs at the time. And I quit one to work at this one that promised me so much money, all these things. And I ended up getting laid off, even though my friend owned the company. It was, business is business, no hard feelings there. But it really kind of reinforced a feeling that I've already always had, that your own security is the security that you make. And so I cried for a moment, went online, made business cards, and the next, business day, as soon as I got in there, I went and looked up every free networking event that I could find, and I just hit the ground running, going to everything and just building my business. The first year, I will tell you, was very awful and very hard. Cried and wondered if I should go work at McDonald's, if I should get a job at Starbucks. And the company that laid me off called me 3 times asking me to come back. And I always said no. I was committed to making this work. And after about a year, 9 months to a year, I started just landing clients and then grew from there. But I was asked if I ever I only asked one time if I had a degree in marketing, and I have a degree from the University of YouTube, because I just started learning and searching, and everything I didn't know, I figured out because somebody was, wasn't gatekeeping. So that's kind of how I got into owning and running my own business.
So in the marketing world, and I mean, I like social media, but I don't like making content all the time. So, and I feel like a lot of our listeners are in the same boat, that like, we don't know if we're making the right content. We don't know how to make content. One day reels are in, one day, all of that stuff. Is social media still super important, or is it something that's, just part of a bigger marketing plan?
Yeah, it's definitely it's still important. I would say, even for me, think about how you spend your time on your phone. When you open it up, are you going to Google and browsing the websites, or are you going to like your Instagrams and your Facebooks and your TikToks?
Right.
Like all of us automatically go to social media, I think, just to check on what's going on, see who's doing what, who's on vacation, who's working hard, all that, what jewelry do I want to buy today? So I think social media is still super relative and super important. And yes, we should still be creating content.
Amazing. Do you how does it look to work with somebody like you? This is the thing, like, I feel like there's a lot of businesses that let sales and like marketing go to the wayside. So
Yeah.
what, and like, asking for our listeners, but also asking for myself. What does it even look like to hire somebody in this role when you're a small business? And obviously, it is more in a consultant situation, I'm assuming. Is it in person? Is it online? Like, how does it look? What does the process look with you?
Perfect. Thanks. That's a great question, Dayle. So, as a marketing, I'd like to say marketing leadership, but a combination of consulting, right? Because in order to lead, I have to understand where you're at and what you need. So, I tend to work with businesses at a revenue of 5 million and above because they're usually at a point where maybe the founder has worn all the hats. He's done the marketing, he's done the sales, he's done the operations, and now he needs to start delegating some of those roles off. So it can look like a couple different ways, but usually it starts with a consultation. Let's see where you're at. Where do you need the most help? Do you have systems in place? Do we need to build out some systems? Do you have a strategy that just needs to be executed? Because nothing's worse than having a full-fledged, here's your marketing strategy, and then you're left to go do it. So I will come in, assess everything that's going on. If you need a strategy, we build that out. I like to work backwards. Like, are you trying to sell more product? Are you trying to get more visibility? Where are you and what is your challenge right now? And then once we solve that, there's a couple different ways. If you have a marketing team in place, I will lead them and help everybody make sure they have a clear role and clear understanding of what their projects are. If there is no people there to execute, I help you build out your team, or we use a combination of my team to make sure that everything is properly executed. So it could be a little bit heavy in the front if we're just evaluating, doing all the work ahead of time. And then you can also just keep me on as a retainer, where we just make sure we're measuring everything, we're tracking all the progress, and making sure all the deadlines and the milestones are being met. So does that answer your question?
Yes, it totally does.
So for anybody who's listening and they're like, okay, I haven't met the 5 million threshold and I'm a small business, and they have all of their yeah, but stories kind of brewing in the back of their head, like, oh, it would be so nice to hire somebody like this. Yeah, but I can't afford it. Yeah, but I'm not big enough. Yeah, but I, can't afford to have a big team like that. I don't have the energy for it. I can't train somebody. I can't do all of the things. What are some of the ways in which you can immediately stop those yeah, but stories and add like value today?
Sure. I think there's a couple things. I think sometimes we put marketing on such a big pedestal, and it really doesn't have to be super expensive. I think depending on where you're at, there's always the do it yourself, but we're all on limited time budgets, right? We don't have that. When I was still small and couldn't afford the whole execution thing of hiring somebody else to do all my work, I would hire people who just coming out of college. I would go on Fiverr. I would find different ways to get some stuff off my plate for as little as possible. And I would use a lot of international VAs or international people. And you can't frown on that because they're more than happy to work for American companies, right? They're delighted to have work at their usually above their normal pay grade. So that was the first thing I did. But if you're still not even at that level, the first thing I would tell you to do is go check all of your platforms. Like, is everything cohesive across it? Because one of the biggest things I see coming into companies is that somebody's only updating Facebook. Instagram's been left to the wayside. Maybe somebody uploaded 1 or 2 videos on TikTok, and the website hasn't been updated since 1999. So step one is
and
make
I
sure.
will say that from personal experience, if I tried to book a service, let's just say like I'm trying to get, a pedicure or a manicure, and I go and I try to look up, like I drove by a place and I look them up and they only have a Facebook. I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
you need to have a website. I feel like you need to have a website. And then if I go onto your website and it doesn't match your Facebook or vice versa, I'm always like, but is this a legitimate business, or like, are they giving much time and attention to it? And I don't know, your marketing is really a reflection of your business in general. So if you
100%.
don't have the time to get all of your platforms cohesive, then it just maybe perhaps sends the wrong message, or maybe your branding is your old branding and you've changed and you've pivoted your focus and all of the things, and now you're not attracting the right clients. So
Correct.
I will say that is like a tip. Everyone that's listening, take your phone out right now, go onto your website. Is your logo updated? doesn't match your Facebook, doesn't match your Instagram, doesn't match your TikTok. Is your bio the same? Like all the things that she's saying, make sure that it looks the same on each one of them. That's an amazing tip. Thank you.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
actually have one more question about that. Would you recommend, so I'm a struggling, busy business owner. I am a one woman show.
Mhm.
Do you think that I should be not having TikTok because I don't have time to manage it properly? I don't have time to make TikTok specific content as part of my marketing strategy.
Yeah.
Or should I just put whatever I put on Instagram on all the platforms and then
Yeah.
go from there? Like,
Um,
what
Sure.
what do you think?
Here's kind of my rule around that. I look at where do the clients spend the most time? Which apps? I have TikTok, but I hardly ever open TikTok. And part of that is like I just don't need another doom scroll place to go. So if
Mhm.
you're not already super versed on TikTok, it's like learning a new app. There's so many things now that go into TikTok. It's really evolved over the last few years. So if you're not already super savvy with it, I would say maybe ditch it for now until you have help with the content creation side of things. Like if you're all the way in on Instagram and that's where you spend most of your time scrolling, watching people's stories, like you kind of already have a good understanding of how the app works. So you're going to be able to be the most efficient there. Sometimes when we're starting new things, I thought I would try and start editing videos for myself and downloaded Adobe Premiere and on after one Saturday of so many efforts and I can't do this and I think I got the wrong computer. Like I was just like, this is why I hire this stuff out instead of trying to
Mhm.
learn something new. So I would say focus on where you're already comfortable. And then until you can have some
Mhm.
support to start building content into these other apps or, have somebody else helping you with content creation, just stick where you're comfortable because that's where you can be the most consistent.
Do you think it's true that, like, I've heard quite a bit that Facebook is for like the boomers, and then Instagram is for like the middle agers, like our age, and then
Yeah.
TikTok's for like the
Younger.
younger
And Snapchat. Yeah.
teenagery, early 20s. Yeah,
Yes.
Snapchat.
Yeah.
Would you say that from your experience that has been true, that like marketing is most successful for things that are the target
Yeah.
audience is like younger adults and teenagers is better on TikTok and all the different age categories?
Yeah, I think so too. And that whenever I'm looking at a company's ideal client or whatever their audience is, I take that into consideration. I'm like, where are your people hanging out? If we're selling cool Nike
Mhm.
shoes or cool sneakers, we're not going to be on LinkedIn and Facebook, right? We're going to be like, how do we make really super cool content for Snapchat and TikTok? So that definitely plays a role into when you're looking at who your ideal audience is in that age range, which as a business owner or selling any sort of thing, you should have your ideal avatar already planned out, written out, and know exactly who you're talking to. But that definitely plays a role into where you should spend your time creating content. Because I see that, my son, he's 15, he mostly spends his time on Snapchat. And it's a lot more than just Snapchat now. They have AI tools built in there, they have their own versions of Instagram and stories and all those things. So, yeah, everybody's kind of congregated to their app that came out in their era.
For sure. I
Absolutely.
have a question of,
I
yeah,
feel so handcuffed, like willingly handcuffed to Instagram that I'm
same.
like, I've tried to scroll TikTok, like, because people are
Me
like, oh,
too.
it's a great search engine. And if you're looking up, beautiful places to visit, you should go on TikTok. And I tried it and I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I
It
am
feels a
married
little
to
overwhelming,
Instagram.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
does. Oh, it completely does. And then like to throw another wrench in it, there's LinkedIn. There's, like
Yeah.
there's even more like business type
Right.
ones that I imagine certain businesses LinkedIn makes a ton of sense for, but other businesses it doesn't make any sense for.
Yeah.
Um, I actually had a theory when I was single that I thought LinkedIn was just a dating site
Really?
because there'd be people that would like message me and they'd be absolutely nothing to do with wanting an interior designer, website
Oh,
designer, and I'm like, what is happening here? This
I
is
think
doesn't feel
all of
right.
the social media
They
platforms are
are. You're
borderline
right.
a dating website.
yes.
You're
You
right.
you have a
Probably.
pretty, I'm sure you had a really pretty profile picture. So like, oh, I need an interior designer, or do I?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, fun.
What back to the question about for the person listening that says, I honestly don't know who I'm selling to. How do you
Mm.
find how do you dial in on somebody's ideal client when they feel like they don't have a niche whatsoever? They're basically like,
Yeah.
I want to sell this to anybody, to anyone that will buy
A
it.
realtor.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I
Realtors
just
are like,
want customers. I don't know who it is and I don't really care. I just need buyers.
yeah.
Is it super important to know exactly who, and how do you figure out who?
Yeah. Can we use realtors as an example? Is that okay?
Sure.
Yes,
No
Yeah,
please.
disrespect
that's
to
a great
realtors.
example.
I used to do tons of networking in person. I travel quite a bit, so it's a little bit harder for me to commit to meetings now. So, but when I was heavy on that, which is a great way to build your business, by the way, you get to hear how people present their business, or their elevator pitches, or their life story books, depending on how skilled they are at speaking. So you would be hearing all these different people. We've had those experiences in the rooms, right? You hear somebody, some of them you remember, some by the time they're done, you're like, what did they do? And what was their name like? So it's
Mhm.
very important that you dial in on who it is that you serve and how it helps. And actually our mutual friends, Chris Harder and Lori Harder, I was listening to their podcast, and they were talking about this very thing when you're networking, like how you have to have it dialed in so that people can actually remember. You don't want to speak some like jargon that only your industry understands. But realtors would always say, I just need a body, like, or I just, anybody, anywhere in Houston. Well, Houston is like 2 hours. I live in Houston, Texas, from top to bottom with no traffic. So
Right.
you're not going to live in the north of Houston and go show a $200,000 house in Sugarland, which is super far away. So I would always tell realtors, like, hey, are you like, let's dial this in. Where do you actually want to serve your community? Because we all know you're already putting a shit ton of miles on your car.
Yeah.
So where do you actually want to serve? And then, like, what is your personality? Are you like 30 and just, fresh out of corporate America? Are you 60 and you've been doing this for a long time, and kind of matching personality with like who they're going to attract?
Mhm.
So that
Hmm.
was kind of one of the things that we would look at. It's just like, okay, if you're bilingual, we can serve a different community than this person down, Betty over here. So instead of saying that, I just need a body, just be like, help people who are moving from California. Like, I'm an expert
Right.
on all things for people coming from California. I am an expert on moving you from an apartment into your first starter homes. Or like, oh, I only work with
Mhm.
families. I only work with veterans. I work with the 16 above, or I help you sell your estates. So there's always a way you can niche down. And that doesn't mean you're not going to help somebody who's outside of your niche. And I
Right.
think that's what a lot of people get afraid of, is like, hey, if I'm outside of this niche now, Betty's not going to call me, or Joe Blow, down the road's not going to call me. So don't be afraid to niche and think you're going to rule out anybody who's outside of that.
That is such a good tip, because I feel like
Hmm.
entrepreneurs, it doesn't matter your industry, but when you
No.
first start out, you're like, I literally need 2 feet and a heartbeat. I need
Yes.
someone saying yes. I need a buyer. I don't care what they look like. I don't
Yeah.
care where they live. I don't care what they do. Like you
We've all
literally
been
are
there.
just like
Yeah.
ready to receive a yes, or like, I want to buy, or whatever it is that you're selling.
Yeah.
And are, you almost come across as like desperate.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
You're just willing to accept anybody who
Yeah.
says yes, and then it can really get you into hot water, because it teaches you really quickly who you
Yeah.
don't want, and then you're like,
Right.
why do I keep attracting all these people that I
Yeah.
don't want? Well, because you haven't niched down. And I will say, even with that realtor story, the city that I live in, there's like a beautiful ski hill 45 minutes away, and I know this lady who exclusively sells up at Big White, which is the ski hill. And her name is everywhere up there. And I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
that's such a strange place, because it's not a big community. There's not a ton of residences to sell there, but she's a realtor and she has like mastered that market. And I'm like, it's brilliant, really, because it is such a small community. Her sign feels like it's on every house that's for sale.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
niching
I think
is
people, if you're looking for somebody is to come in and work on your business, you want an expert in that space. So how
sure.
you sell yourself and how you present yourself is going to be like, somebody will be able to find you way easier if you speak a certain type of language and you're consistently saying, I help solve this problem, or I serve this person. You're going to really, those people will be able to find you. If you keep saying, I just need a person and I'm open to anything, nobody's going to find you. So back to SEO. I mean, it's kind of like SEO. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish I
Or
could chat with you for 10 more hours, because
I
I think you're
know.
brilliant and you have amazing tips. But
yes.
our time has come to a close, unless you have anything more to add, Dayle.
I have one more question. What was your proof it's possible moment in your journey that you were like, okay, I don't have to go work at McDonald's. I can stick with entrepreneurship and like it's hard, but I'm going to do it because this thing reminded me.
Yeah, uh, that's such a good question. And I think as an entrepreneur, we always have to stop and ask that question sometimes. But I think, I mean, I probably had a few moments, but I will also say one of the things I've always challenged myself personally is I will say yes and then figure it out and as I go, right? So um, I committed to a new apartment that's in 6 months, and it's out of my current price range, if I'm being totally transparent and honest. But it's kind of like lighting a fire under my booty. And I'm like, okay, now I know what I need to do to get there. But as far as like proof it's possible moments, I will just say real quick, I had these young ladies that were visiting with my brother this weekend, and she was working for a small minimum, not close to minimum wage amount, and she's a single mom, divorced. And she's like, so you do this all by yourself? Like, you're a single mom and you have this nice place in your car and you run your own business? She's like, how did you do that? And I don't stop very often to reflect on how much I've been blessed with and how much I've worked with, because I'm always, as an entrepreneur, I was looking for the next milestone, like I just said, the next department or the next level. But that was a really cool reminder to me to be like, hey, I am doing this and I have done this and I am successful, and there's just levels. And it was a really cool reminder, and I need to add that to my gratitudes and be a little bit more conscious of how far I've
Isn't
come.
that so fun that you can be somebody else's proof it's possible?
Yeah.
Like they're looking to you to be like, this could be me if I just chased my dreams, if I just did the thing, if I just got courageous. So I love that. And you are proof it's possible. You're amazing.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see your new rooftop, beautiful.
Girls, you guys got to come visit me in Texas. Yes, it's going to be
Well,
fun.
and I love that you're just, throwing it out to the universe that you're ready for your next level up.
Yep. Yep. It's going to be down the street. Not like I'm going to share a sidewalk with the Ritz-Carlton residences. So
amazing.
high vibing.
Yes.
Good for you, girl. You guys, if you want want to know more about Bridget, where can they find you?
Bridget Therese Romo on Instagram, or Bridget Romo, you'll find me. And then that's links to my business and everything else. So just, you find Bridget, you'll find the rest of my platforms and business.
Awesome.
Thank you for
being here.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate you, ladies.
Bye.
We are so grateful you're here.
It would mean the world to us if you'll subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel and leave us a review.
If you want to hear more from us, go to proofitspossible.com to join our mailing list and find our social links so you don't miss a thing.
Thanks, and chat next time.